Hello and welcome to my channel on Ancient in Chinese Astrology. I am professional astrologer Zagata from the website 100%astrology.com, and I would like to make a video about Chinese astrology reading with the 4 pillars of destiny of American female Monica Lewinsky. Now I would also, this is my YouTube channel, Ancient in Chinese Astrology. I urge those of you who have not watched to do so, to watch the video A Brief History of Chinese Astrology. Why? Because if you're not familiar with Chinese astrology, or if you have merely heard or read something, it's like 99% chance is that you heard something like, if you're a dog, then this means that. If you're a dragon, then this means that. Namely, that if you were born in the year of the dragon, or of the rat, or of the rooster, etc., it means this. This is not Chinese astrology, really. This is like pop astrology, and therefore all the people that are doing this type of astrology, that are there are even many books about this. These people are, how shall I call it? They are amateurs. They're deceiving the public about the true power of Chinese astrology. And in the video that I just mentioned, the brief history of Chinese astrology, I quoted some of the most influential historical sources of this branch of Chinese astrology, 4 pillars of destiny, which the Chinese called Ba Zi, which means 8 characters. I also mentioned the other most influential sources of the other 2 branches, but I'm not gonna go into them. The point is, anyone can check. Here they are, just a brief summary of. I already gave this information in the video, but as you see, these classics, these are the most important works, pretty much, and they were written in the first one is in the Tang dynasty, and the others are in Ming dynasty or Qin dynasty, so in the past 600 years. And none of them, I repeat, you will not find such information that, again, if you are born in the year of the snake, this means that. No such thing. So let's get to it. Let me show you what I have in mind. So this is the picture of my video, and let me assure you that this woman is not committing suicide or something. This is the original picture, but I had to fit the chart somewhere, and this is a great quote. And indeed, life is the most difficult exam. And the point here is that everyone has a unique destiny and unique fate. And it is through astrology that we professional astrologers are able to read the destiny of a given man or woman. And this destiny is always unique because your horoscope is unique. Again, it's theoretically possible to have the same chart in 25,920 years, so almost 26 millennia. And even then, the location would probably be different, the soul incarnating could be different, and the environment would be different, etc., etc. So yeah. The first of all, briefly to explain about the anatomy of the Chinese horoscope with the 4 pillars of destiny branch, is that it's composed of 3 elements, and these are, first of all, on top we have the heavenly stems, which are the 5 elements, namely water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And each of them has an yin and yang, which makes 5 times 2, which makes 10. These are called the heavenly stems. And then we have the earthly branches, which are the Chinese images, the Chinese zodiac or signs. They are not animals, really, because the name for monkey in Chinese is a different name than this monkey, the astrological monkey. Okay, these are just energy. And the third component is called the hidden stems. Each of the earthly branches contains hidden stems, and these three are representations of what we call heaven, and then earth, and then man or woman. And this is pregnant with meaning. Also you will notice that the Chinese, like the Arabs, they write opposite us, so they write from right to left. It's very, very important to keep this in mind. And you will notice that, in fact, the first thing I put here on the chart is I wrote the sex of the man or woman, and it's female. This is the first factor, folks. The first factor. Why? Because in females' charts, they're delineated differently compared to males. For example, the element that represents the children is a different element compared to males. The element that represents the spouse is a different element compared in a male's chart, etc., etc. So also the so-called luck pillars are calculated differently depending whether it's a woman or a man. And therefore, even in the case of twins, if they are of different sexes, these luck pillars will be different. So far this is the static part of the chart, and we also have a dynamic part, which is like in ancient astrology what we call timing or predictive techniques, or the Hindu dashas. So we have the static potential, the natal promise, if you will, as we say here, and here we have the dynamic, the activating of the natal promise, and or even, if you will, the modification of somewhat of the natal promise. So these luck pillars are like in this way, Chinese astrology is closer to Indian astrology than to ancient astrology, because like in India they have just the dasha and nothing else, although they have many dashas, but it's dashas and transits pretty much, the Parashar branch. Whereas, and likewise here they have the luck pillars and nothing else. And the last component is the annual pillar, which is like transits. In other words, right now Saturn is passing through Aquarius, for example, and tropical, of course, and so Saturn in Aquarius is passing through, it's valid for everyone. However, the meaning of Saturn and the meaning of Aquarius, I mean the placement of Saturn in Aquarius and the houses Saturn rules will be different for every chart, and hence we derive a different meaning, different significations of the same planet. This is how we differentiate the meaning. Likewise with the annual pillar, we are in 2022. It's the year of the Yan water tiger. This Yan water and this tiger will have different meanings in every chart, and this is how we add another component. So obviously the luck pillar is the most important, but the annual pillar should not be discounted, because it's the secondary factor, the secondary influence. And if you're in a good period but the annual pillar is bad, then it's spoiling. Vice versa, if you're in an unfavorable period but the annual pillar is favorable, it's providing relief, so to say, and even somewhat moderate success. Let's see some. There are those astrologers that claim that it takes a lot of time to calculate the chart, because they're let me say that the Chinese horoscope, it's much easier to calculate by hand compared to Western or any horoscope that deals with planets and stars. And when I first started studying astrology back in late 2008, I started, with first with books, then with courses. The point is, I learned how to calculate by hand. Then when I started studying Chinese astrology, which next month I will turn 9 years of very intensive studying and practicing and consulting, etc. I also learned how to calculate by hand. And if there are people that would like to, I can make a video and show how to calculate by hand. But the point is that there are those astrologers that say that it takes a long time to calculate by hand. No, it's not. It actually takes to calculate this chart about possibly 7-8 minutes or 9 minutes at most. And for example, here is a website. So what we call the ephemerides, with, in other words, tables of which show the movements of the planets. The Chinese analog is the 10,000 year calendar. So this is a website that I've given in my own blog on my website, and so it calculates the Chinese calendar. And let me say that the Chinese calendar, the Chinese themselves, they the only calendar that they knew was the Chinese calendar, and they used it. I mean, they obviously use it every single day, but it was the only calendar until the beginning of the 20th century. So for thousands and thousands of years, they used only this calendar. Okay, so the chart that I'm going to illustrate in this video is from American female Monica Lewinsky. If you're not familiar with her, she got involved in possibly the biggest sex scandal in American presidential history in the late 90s. And this is the chart from birth certificate, and I've already written an article about her, in fact, and she has, as I will explain, she has what we call in Four Pillars of Destiny, hurting husband chart. And so the point is that she was born, as you see, on the in July 23rd of July 1973, and here we select July September 1973. We select the year and we press chart, and you will notice here that this is how it's so we scroll down. So the year, the month, the day. Remember that sequence from right to left always is the Chinese, right? And we go to 23rd, and we see here Guichou, Jivei, and Genshen. And in other words, as you will see here, actually let me close that. Let me yes, as you see, we have Guichou, Jivei, and Genshen. In other words, in water rocks, inert goat, young metal monkey, and the hour is calculated according to Uro. I'm not going to get into that, but the hour is the young water horse, the Renwu. And so this is, again, it's, if you have a template, I'm using the free software, Four Pillars and Feng Shui, the free version. It calculates this is how the chart looks like. I love this software. I don't want to use any other software. Very, very easy on the eyes. And yeah, unfortunately it only calculates the solar calendar, but I've spoken about this elsewhere and written about this. Anyhow, so let's see what else. Some again don't go by, again, we don't use the in water rocks. We don't say I'm an in water rocks. Never. We say I was born on the day of young metal monkey, especially young metal. But this, in fact, if we go to advanced astrology, I mean advanced Four Pillars, it doesn't necessarily mean that you carry the characteristics of young metal. All right. In this case, she does carry the characteristics, Monica Lewinsky, but again, it depends on the type of chart. I will explain. Let's see what else. Yes, so let me say that because one of the topics that I specialize in is determining the length of life, and this method of Chinese astrology, the astrologers are clear that it cannot be used to calculate the length of life. It just doesn't have the, what I call the kill shot. It doesn't have the trigger, the you know, the last thing that yeah, it can show you know, periods of danger to the body, definitely. And you will see that if you study hundreds and hundreds of charts, you will see that invariably when the native has a health problem, we can predict that, and especially serious ones. And I mean, not talking about, you know, colds, etc. and when they die, they're invariably in a negative period, unfavorable period. But we can't say with this method, with Chinese astrology, that the native is going to die in this cycle or that year. We can say that this cycle carries the greatest risk, but again, we're lucky. It's like a little bit like in Indian astrology, what they call Vedic. They're dashas. They're unnecessary but insufficient condition, because we need something more powerful, unless the astrologer is really psychic, but that's beside the point here. Yeah, what else I need to get out of the way before I start? Yes, speaking of this, some astrologers say that, well, when they see negative activations in the chart, they say, well, it's not going to be that bad, because we live in the modern age. Medicine has advanced so much. We live much longer than ancient people, etc., etc. Well, actually, that's not true. Neither of this is true. Why? Because first of all, if you study many charts, you will see that people have the same diseases and issues than the ancients did. And in fact, today we have many more diseases than the ancients did, many more types of cancer, etc., etc. When again with very negative configurations, people still they lose a leg, or they get hospitalized for a long time, or they get imprisoned, etc., etc. And also this thing about modern medicine being more advanced than ancient medicine, I firmly disagree. In fact, it's very easy to prove, because I myself am very interested in health and health overall. And if you know the types of wonders, so to say, that traditional medicine can do, again, if modern medicine is so advanced, why are people sick all the time? Like, why are people depressed? Why are tens of thousands of Americans drinking pills every single day? I thought I thought technology was supposed to help us and make life easier. What's going on here? With all the radiation, etc. So this is a wrong approach to take. And concerning whether we live longer than the ancients, again, I myself was under this impression until 6 years ago, when I wrote an article about misconceptions about astrology. And 5 days after I wrote this article, I came across this scientific study by a Japanese scientist that actually proves that modern people do not live longer than their ancestors. I know it may be really surprising to you, but actually the key here is that it depends whether what you mean by length of life and how you calculate it. In other words, the problem with ancient people, in fact, by ancient I mean just a few hundred years ago, is that they had extremely high infant mortality, and this infant mortality skews the end result. In other words, if you remove the extremely high infant mortality, you will see that, as this scientist did when he was studying hunter-gatherer societies, you will see that ancient people, they lived pretty much, they had the same longevity as we do today, 70, 75, 80 years old, etc. And speaking of longevity, ever since the so-called COVID in March 2020, I read data, I believe last month or 2 months ago. I can find the article, and I hope YouTube won't censor it. But anyhow, I can yes, and it's from the United States. That says, again, it's official data that says that the life expectancy of Americans decreased by 3 years. I believe from 79 to 76 over a period of less than 3 years, folks. So what's going on here? I believe you know where I'm going with this, but the point is that even the supposedly increasing length of life can be cut short by something, and this is tremendous reduction of length of life in a matter of 2 years to lose 3 years. Again, it's ask a statistician. Anyhow, I don't want to digress in this. Let's see what else. Yes, one more thing. There are astrologers that we have we have the 5 elements, we have the 12 branches, and we have the hidden stems. These are the hidden stems here. Actually, I should have these are as you see, these are the hidden stems, and we also have stars, and these stars are a little like the lots in ancient astrology. Namely, they are not astronomical bodies. They are calculated by specific formulas, and these stars are extremely powerful, like the lots, and they should be used. However, the problem here is that originally these stars were not, they were later incorporated. I mean, as I've explained, there are 3 types of Chinese astrology. This is the most famous one, the 4 pillars of destiny, the Bazi type. But there is another one called Emperor astrology, Zivei Doushu, as the Chinese call it, and there they have over 100 stars, and most of these stars have been incorporated, or rather were later incorporated in the 4 pillars of destiny branch. So this is also another factor to take into account, namely that these stars were later added, so they are not meant to be used as a primary factor to extract information from the horoscope. So keep this in mind, because there are those astrologers that they overuse the stars, they over rely on the stars, and this can be really dangerous and really misleading, to say the least. What I mean by this? Well, I wrote an article about precisely this problem. Here is the article, the stars in Chinese. I will include all the articles in the description below the video. The stars in Chinese astrology, how not to use them. And there is this star called nobleman or heavenly messenger, and this is the formula how it's extracted. And I gave actually 3 extremely telling examples of people, extremely famous people, as you see: Rafael Nadal, great tennis player; Tiger Woods, golfer, a billionaire sportsman who is a billionaire; and Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players. And these people, Nadal had, I showed how they had this because you can have the star natally, or you can have it with the luck pillars or annual pillars, and we can see when it will come, obviously, and what the effect will be. But the point is that these people, they had the star come, and it was the most positive, the most benefic star, so to say, number 1, the most powerful star, heavenly messenger or heavenly nobleman. And Rafael Nadal recorded his worst year in his career. Tiger Woods was caught cheating, and he lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Kobe Bryant actually died on such a star. Folks. So really careful with, you have to be really careful of such astrologers who again overuse and over rely on the stars. And with that out of the way, let me say that I've because there are many astrologers that take a course here and there, or do some seminar or read some books, and that's it. In other words, they learn from one teacher, and pretty much that's it, or 2, and they get it, and they think that that's it. No, it's not. You have to study the classics. You have to search far and wide. If you're a very diligent astrologer and want to to develop to the maximum potential. And in my services page here, as I've explained here, in trying to develop myself and my skills, etc., I've collected and sifted knowledge from the United States, Great Britain, Canada, China, Bulgaria, Malaysia. In fact, this should be even Singapore also, etc. And it's what I'm saying and what I will show you, what I will share. It has proven accurate again and again with hundreds of charts and with many clients as well that I consult. And yes, so I will, this is the article for Lewinsky, this is the article for the length of life, this is for the stars, this is her chart. Yes, so yes, so let me get started. When I read the chart, so actually one last thing before I get to the nitty-gritty, so to say. There are various, I would not call them schools, but approaches to extracting information from the chart, because this thing, the four pillars, it looks small. It's this is the whole life, so to say, and plus the stars, and there's some slightly more information, but pretty much that's it. And someone's gonna say, well, this is so little, this is how, well, the trick is that it's so little, but the information is so condensed that you will be amazed what information can be extracted and what information can be gleaned. And Chinese astrologers, they like to call this the life code. So this is a code for life. This is like reading the blueprint, the DNA. And so what I'm getting at is that there are astrologers, because you can like with ancient astrology, we can use a topical approach. We can study, in other words, we can examine a given topic. For example, a client is interested in the topic of marriage. We go to the topic of marriage. They want to know the topic of children. We go to the topic of children. They want to talk about the topic of health. We analyze their health. They want to talk about the topic of their finances. We go to their finances, etc. Or we can go about the chart using the universal approach, namely the overall examination of the chart. Is this horoscope powerful? How high will this native reach? Will they be more successful in their first part of life or their second part of life, etc., etc., etc. Will they be able to hold on to what they reach, or will they crash, or will they crash first and then reach the top, etc., etc. These are overall considerations, and there are specific techniques that are utilized in the Western horoscope with ancient astrology that also offer. And the point is that there are astrologers here that, for example, that extract the stars and start reading the chart predominantly from the stars. As I showed, this is very dangerous. There are astrologers who look for a missing element. Again, 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And if a given element is missing, they start saying the native is missing this quality, or depending on what the element rules, because the elements they rule certain people, certain characteristics of the native, etc., etc. And or one can also use one can use the interaction between the 5 elements without classifying the chart, categorizing the chart, and this is also dangerous because it's incomplete. And it's you see the first thing that needs to be done, and again I'm following the classical sources always, is that you have to classify, you have to categorize the chart, you have to determine the structure of the horoscope, which brings me to this picture here. This is an approach used by Chinese astrologer Jerry King. He is Chinese actually, and he lives in Canada. He's been living in Canada for some time, for many years, and so I really like this. I really like this diagram, and I myself have gotten used to thinking along those lines. Namely, we have 2 types of charts. Overall, really overall, with the broad strokes of the brush, we have standard charts and we have special charts. These are the standard charts here, strong or weak, and the special charts are dominant or feeble, or here we can call it also follow or surrender. But there are many types of there are 5 types of dominant. We have also fake dominant, we have many types of feeble, and we have also variable charts, etc., etc. This is like, again, with the broad strokes of the brush. And This is absolutely crucial, folks, because unless you determine the favorable and the structure of the chart, and henceforth the favorable and unfavorable elements, your delineation in your prediction will be in the majority of cases it will be wrong, and in fact you will be misleading the client, again depending on the depth of your reading. If you're if you're not advanced enough, if you're going for generalizations, if you're dealing with mostly psychology, you won't go wrong. But if you're dealing with specifics, they're asking you, when I'm going to start a relationship, is this a good time to start a business? When should I reconcile with my friend or with my my parent, or is this profession, should I choose this profession or that profession? What is promised in my chart? Or am I suited to work for myself, or to work for others, or etc., etc. Should I move to this country? Is this country more favorable to me, or that country, or this town, or that town, or there's so many, again, specific questions that call for specific answers, and it will be shown whether the astrologer is accurate or not. So again, this I should say again, there's no psychology here. But the four pillars of destiny is the best astrology for character delineation. Character is not psychology. Character are intrinsic traits that are either true or false. You're either stingy or you're not. You're either pig-headed or you're not. You're either rebellious, or you don't, you go with the status quo, you don't rock the boat, etc., etc., etc. There I can, so this is again, you will see, very, very specific and extremely, again, valid for only for the man or woman in question. So let's get started. So this woman, again, it's a female. So and why is this important? I explained, because of the luck pillars. And again, they're those people that nowadays, especially in the last, 10-20 years, that say that I was born a man but I'm a woman now, and stuff like that. Folks, this won't work here, because it may work for you on an internal level, but the chart itself will not change. And again, we're basing, not we, but the way the system was created, it's based on biology. You can't change biology. You can use hormones, etc. But the point is, and this, by the way, this is different for this is not the same as homosexual and bisexual people. In fact, I will make a separate video for astrology of homosexual and bisexual people, because the elements are assigned somewhat differently for the partners. But that's perfectly fine here. But what I'm talking about is, if you have if you're originally a female and become a male, again, you can't change the chart or the cycles. Okay, so let's see. So this native, she is a female, and she was born on a Yan metal monkey day, and the Yan metal is what we're basing everything on, and relative to the Yang metal. So with Yan metal, we can say that first of all, women are yin, men are yang. This can never change, and no matter how some people, some segments of society would like it to change, that's impossible. Men are the sun, women are the moon, and men should be masculine, women should be feminine. Men should be strong, women should be weak, not submissive, weak. And if you study Chinese metaphysics, you will actually read the Chinese say that the weak beats the strong. Actually, by weak, I don't mean weak as modern people understand it anyhow. Weak means to bend. means to be flexible, etc., etc. It means to yield. Anyhow, the point is that when we see a woman with a yang element, and especially yang metal, because yang metal is like the killer. Yang metal is like because we have yang metal and yin metal. Yang metal is the masculine metal, yin metal is the feminine. Yang metal is like an axe. It's like a sword. It's rough. It's it's because yin metal is like a jewel, like a precious stone, like a ring. And tremendous difference between these two. Although yes, metal rules justice, so this native will be very interested in justice, in ethics. Metal protects the weak, especially yang metal. She will be helping and protecting the weak. But also metal is like an axe. Metal does not yield, and especially yang metal. This is a very, very stubborn individual. She will not yield. She will. You can't make her change her mind. Not directly, at least. It's extremely stubborn. And also, what is a characteristic of yang metal is that because we have this, how shall I say it? Like looking for an analogy. We don't really have an analogy in ancient astrology, but anyhow, we have the 5 elements. And this is the native always on top, and we see that we have the 3 cycles: the generating cycle, the controlling cycle, and the weakening cycle. And we see that, and also we have this based on these elements. We have, as I will be explaining forward, we have the this is the self. We have output. We have wealth. We have power or influence or yes. Element, and we also have the controlling element, and we also have the resource element or the CEO element. And so this is a strong chart. So this metal is so I was showing that because metal is controlled by fire. So what we in other words, especially yang metal, people born on yang metal, we say that metal likes to be forged like a sword. You have to put the sword into fire. You have to, So people born on yang metal, they have to go through some major challenge in life. This is like again, they become stronger based on this because of this challenge. But they have to get tested, really, really tested. And again, whether they will how they will get come out of this challenge depends on the overall strength of the chart. But the point is that yang metal. Remember this, it's yang metal, again, is the strongest of all the 10 stems, and yang metal needs to be forged. It needs to encounter some big obstacle and challenge. And what else? Well, again, it depends what we're looking for. As my first teacher used to say, although it was not a Chinese astrology teacher, but anyhow, an astrological chart does not tell you anything unless you ask it a question. So again, what do we need to know? Do we want to know about the native's character, about her wealth, about her health, about her partners, about her children, about her parents, about her etc., etc., etc. And so speaking of the native's character, well, this native is used to being spoiled, and a lot actually, and she's also very prone, in fact she was overweight. And we say this because the resource element is really, really strong. And speaking of strength is based primarily on the season, and like season is like essential dignities in astrology. So each of the elements rules a season, with wood ruling spring, and fire ruling summer, and metal ruling autumn, and water ruling winter, and earth ruling the last month of each of the 4 seasons. And she was born in the month of the goat, so she was born in the summer, but in an earth month. So earth is extremely strong, and this resource is extremely strong. So this again, this is a native who is very spoiled, who has a pattern of getting lazy, feeling entitled, and also this is a native who lives, who is very extremely, and in fact not just prone, but she depression is the major health issue for her. Yes, overweight, depression, also because water is dead, as we say in Chinese astrology, because earth controls water, and water, she was born in summer where water is trapped. She has a problem with water. And what does it mean? Well, it means, first of all, that this native has problems with her sleep, and I can bet that she has problems sleeping, and not just that, but she takes pills also with the resource element. And again, depending on how strong the resource element is, and it's as strong as it can be, tremendous depression problems. This native lives inside her head. She is because the resource element is the most how shall I say, the most it's intangible. It's you can't it's not secret, but it rules happiness. It rules mental health. It's intangible, and it's tricky. It's sensitive, and so this native has serious problems with happiness and with mental health, and also because water is weak, especially when again, this is on the natal level, which is true for her whole life, but also this can get strengthened or weakened depending on the luck pillars and the annual pillars. When more earth comes, it will get worse and worse for her, and she can get even hospitalized or check into a mental institution. It's really that bad. And also when earth becomes stronger and stronger, water will become weaker and weaker, and this will also show that she has when she is down, when she needs help, her ability to ask for help will be compromised. Again, because resource is again inside the head, and thinking, and like we say in my native Bulgarian, the native is measuring without cutting. They're thinking but not acting. And so someone might ask, well, give us something, give us some remedy. I mean, stop, give some advice to the client. Of course, I always advise the client in my consultations, but in this case, we have two options. The best way, and this again with Batsa here, we can again when you reach advanced level, it's small differences can make a big difference in the chart, and also one conclusion drawn correctly opens up a whole load of meanings across the chart. So with her, with this strong, we know the problem and we know the solution, therefore, because the chart is showing it. In other words, the problem is earth, in other words, resource, and the solution, we have two solutions. The first one, the best one actually, which is her best element, and therefore when she's running this element, she will have the greatest success in life. Not just that, but her health will be in fact almost fully recovered. And this element is wood. And the second one is water, but water is far weaker, but wood is the best. Unfortunately, as you see, she only has wood here in the hidden stems, and again, this carries a number of meanings. I mean, all true, of course, but on the one hand, it makes the native extremely stingy because wood is hidden. On the other hand, in other words, wealth is hidden. On the other hand, it makes the father, the native's father, is somehow behind the scenes. The native, he is not powerful. He is not he is not eminent, he is not, he's somehow hidden. Whereas her mother is much more powerful and much more influential than her father. Her mother being in Earth, direct resource, and also the month stem, and which coincides in this case. So stingy, the father. So this wealth being hidden, which means she can't draw on this. And she has problem with I wouldn't say earning money. No way, not exactly. But she has problems with following through and with coming up with goals and getting to work on these goals, which is the wealth element, not just wealth, money per se, finances. Let's see what else. Well, I can talk for a long time, but yes. So this water is as you will notice, she has water here and here, and I should say that with 4 pillars we have the year, which is why we call it 4 pillars: the year, the month, the day, the hour. Four pillars, and the year rules the ancestors. Some astrologers count them also as the father and the mother. I would not agree, but the ancestors. The month and the day is the mother and father, so, possibly also the business. Some also this here, the day stem is the native. Here the day branch is the spouse palace, which is the relationship with the partner, and also as a whole the of the native. Here the hour pillar is the native's children and also the native's aspirations. And so with water being dead, in other words, with water in an earth month, water being output in a female chart shows the children, and we have a big problem. Why? Because water is dead, but she has water. Because there are people who even don't have water, who in other words, who don't have output, which is when it's dead, which is the worst possible. But with her, she has water in 2 places. However, this water here is dead here because it's controlled by the 2 earths. This water is not dead. This water is fine, although it's fighting with the horse. It's controlling the horse, but in summer, difficult. But it's being fed. It's being produced by the monkey, by the metal. But the point is that this shows that the native will have serious problems with having children. This does not outright deny children, but because the water is so afflicted, she will definitely have problems with children. Now these problems, she will either not have children or she may have an abortion. And in fact, actually having an abortion is more likely. Why? Because, well, it depends, but because she has water here. Because if you don't have a given element, if it appears in even in a given luck pillar, and especially with children when she is young, it really boosts her chances of having a child. But it's not as easy as that, friends. Why? Because there are people, for example, that I have such clients, and not just I have studied hundreds and hundreds of charts that there are people that want children, but they don't have children. In other words, their output element, if they're females, their output element is really weak and they don't have children. Vice versa, there are people that are very fertile, that can have many children, extremely strong output element, but the controlling element showing the male in a female chart is compromised. In other words, they're fertile, but they don't have a man. So you see, you have to have 2. And someone may counter, sure, but you can go to in vitro clinic, etc. But we're not getting into that. So the point is that if you study her life, again, there is a biography here, and I've also looked elsewhere, also here at Wikipedia, but also many other websites. You will see that Monica Lewinsky, she actually got pregnant, but she decided to have an abortion. So ultimately, as I'm doing this now, as you see, 26th of October 2022, she hasn't had any children, and at 49 she won't have children. So even again, this, what I'm saying is not, these rules are what I really like about this type of astrology. The 4 pillars is, if you want to know why, the astrology is telling you why. You unlike the Zivei Shu, the Emperor astrology, where you have to cram, you have to study by heart the meanings. No, friends. Here it's, you want to know why, because of this, because water is dead, because because water is controlled here, and because as for the controlling element is directly attacked by the water, by the output, etc. She will have, again, she has a Herching husband chart. I will explain what this means, etc. So we have these explanations that, again, extremely helpful. And when you see this repeated in 5, 10, 20, 50 charts, etc., you know that it works actually, not in theory. It works. You know what to say, etc. when you get enough years under your belt as a practitioner. And let's see what else. Well, with water, with this output, speaking of this, I'll provide link in the description of the Herching husband chart. Females who have strong output, or I will not just say strong, but output countering officer, the controlling element. These females, they have like what in English you call high maintenance. These females, they have high standards, they have high expectations, high demands. And the stronger the output, the stronger and more unrealistic the demands of these females. And in some cases, they tend to complain and nag, and it's just that that's one part of the delineation. The other part is that they do not yield. They do not. They keep arguing, and the male partner is because the output, the water controls fire. In this case, the controlling element. The native's partners are being countered by the native's how she expresses herself, because the output also in addition to children also shows how you express yourself, also in male charts, how you present yourself, how you create, etc. And performers, singers, etc., they utilize the output element. And so females who have very strong output elements, unless they belong to a special chart, these females are, again, they do not yield, and this, they counter their husband, and the husband does not feel, or boyfriend does not feel, I would not say respected, but appreciated, and feels under threat, so to say. And as a result, again, this is why we, Chinese astrologers, we call it, again, the classics call this Herching husband chart. And by the way, there is an opposite configuration, wife Herching chart, but you have to understand that Chinese astrology, it originated in a culture where that was masculinistic, namely masculine based, and females, they did not have the same rights, etc. It's a different culture, and but the point is that it doesn't matter that these rules are 1,000 years old. They work nowadays because, again, this native Monica Lewinsky, again, you can check for yourself, because of again, her chart is showing she has a Herching husband chart, and she never married. She had some boyfriends, but she never married, and she did not have children. And it's a real tragedy for not just for a woman, but especially for a woman. And also with because for females, the power, the influence element, the controlling element is not just the career, but it's also the husband. And if this influence element is being countered, it's a double whammy. Again, no man or bad affinity with a man, and again, problems with career. And in fact, she could not get a good enough job, and she was she left her home country and she lived in Britain for many years. And yeah, so let's see what else. Well, well, we can say that she's extremely her useful element being fire, and also fire, wood, and lastly water, but fire being here in the month. Very organized, very she adheres to rules, she adheres to the tradition, and she gains the respect of her peers, and she can lead, but in a peaceful environment. And she's more she doesn't like chaos. She should not be able to handle chaos, because she lacks the 7 killings. She only has the officer, and she's democratic minded. She's not autocratic, so she believes in in putting decisions to a vote, major decisions, etc., etc. But let's see. I said that she's very stingy. I said that she's very spoiled, very prone to overweight. What else? I said about being extremely stubborn. Yes, said about having unrealistic demands, picky, likes to pick on small things. She appreciates the finer things in life, the eating God. She likes, the arts and the cinema and the nice food and the nice atmosphere and etc., etc. And in terms of health, well, this knowledge is again, Chinese astrology is just over 1,000 years old, whereas the 5 element theory and the Chinese calendar, etc., is a few thousand years old. And in fact, what the Yellow Emperor wrote in about 2600 BC, before the Common Era, in other words 4,600 years ago, this same table of correspondences is being taught in universities, everywhere, in the States, in Canada, etc., that teach acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, etc. And there is I have many books on the subject. Obviously, as I said, I'm very interested in health, and I myself do Qigong and also traditional Pilates. But this is a table that I've made from a book by a Chinese martial arts practitioner and also Dr. Nan Lu. And you can find this table elsewhere also, but I like this table and I made it as you see, I made it myself here. And we have many correspondences, as you see, between as you see here, for each of the 5 elements. And the point is that I'm not going to go into medical astrology. I'll just say which, into detail, but I will say which her vulnerable organs are. And let's see. I was going to say that there are those astrologers that, for example, because she's Yan metal, they will just use metal as being, they will judge everything based on the metal. It's wrong. In other words, everyone who was born on a Yan metal day, because metal rules the lungs and it rules the large intestine. Again, you can see metal, the lung, the large intestine, etc., etc., etc. That the native will have problem with that. Again, that's not accurate, because again, if you do your due diligence and keep checking and ask for feedback from clients and do your research, you will see that that's not accurate. Again, it's much more than this. It has to do with categorizing the chart, with classifying the chart. So what we can say is that we can say that Earth is very strong and water is weak. Again, this talks a lot to the advanced astrologer. So what this means is that she has problems with sleeping, as I said. depression, pills, possibly she should watch out for taking too many drugs, you know. And what else? We also have a problem. She also has a problem with metal cutting wood. Now this, she's susceptible to back issues, the nervous system, and weakness in the liver, because the wood is the liver, and metal cutting wood. And if let's see, if there is a particular clash with this metal and wood, she could be susceptible to head injuries. And lastly, whenever I see a conflict between fire and water, three things: heart and circulatory system. The heart, the circulatory system, the kidneys. I would not go for I would not say the kidneys, but the heart and circulatory system, are vulnerable here, definitely. She should, again, when astrologer is not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing, I'm not treating, etc. I'm reading the chart, and a Chinese astrologer, in fact, would say this should not necessarily concern the physical organs, but the meridians, which are the energy points, which are, in fact, again, this has been long proven, that the physical organs are a consequence of the meridians of the energy body, not the other way around. So disease first shows as imbalance. In fact, in classical medicine, regardless whether it's Chinese or some other, we don't have diseases like this. We have imbalances. We have imbalance of this energy or that energy, which manifests as problems with that organ. I don't want to digress into this. Let's see, what else? Well, let's see. I said about the children. Well, about the spouse. Well, let's see, where am I? With the spouse, this is the spouse here, the spouse element, which is in fire, namely the officer. We see that this spouse is on the outside of the chart, and what I mean is not the spouse necessarily, but the useful element is on the outside so because again the Chinese, they write from right to left, so we have this is the first part of life, this is the second part of life, and we see that automatically that her first part of life will be much more difficult than the second part of life, and also that she will be happiest in the last part of life with the horse. There are many stars in Chinese astrology. I've written about this. We have here in Bulgaria, we are very fortunate to have a Bulgarian named Ani Pesheva. She studied in China. She knows Chinese. She graduated in the US also, and she published a book in Bulgarian, The Stars in the Four Pillars of Destiny, where she translated from Chinese about 160 stars, the biggest number of stars in the world that any astrologer has written about. Obviously, not all these stars are powerful. I mean, about 50-60 of them are powerful. The others are not as significant. But the point is that here is the complete chart. Again, this is in Bulgarian. That doesn't matter. These are the 10 gods. Here I will can make a separate video. But we see here that well, you don't see because well, those of you who happen to speak Bulgarian. But anyhow, we see that she has a star here. What is called as what we call Praskoven Cvat, namely peach blossom, and which is the horse, again based on the year. And what you have to remember is that she has a peach blossom star in the hour, and and also heavenly messenger here and here. And when you have for this type of division of the chart, this is the internal part, and this is the year and the month, and this is the external. So Monica Lewinsky has peach blossom star of romance on the external part of the chart, which means Ani Pesheva translates it as outside the garden, peach blossom outside the garden. When it's outside the garden, it's it's touching strangers. It's like branches that like to touch people that are close to them. The wood, so the tree is playing, so to say, with strangers. And so the point is that this attracts attention, and this attracts to attention to the natives' romantic life, because the peach blossom star is the star of charisma. It's the star of romance, the star of romantic walks and poetry and lovely music and going out and and dancing and having fun. And it's a Venusian star, if you will, but it's charisma. And people who have this star, they are extremely charismatic, and especially if the star is the useful element, if it's leading the flow. Again, like an example I can give you is Andre Agassi, extremely famous former American player, one of the greatest players in history, and he has, I believe, the rabbit. Yes, he has the rabbit, but I believe he was born on the. Just a second. He was born on the 29th of April 1970. So this is Young Metal Dog. This is, I believe, Young Metal Dragon, and this is Inert Rabbit. Yes, so he was born on the day of the Inert Rabbit, and the rabbit is the star, so he has it in the day, which is the most powerful position. And this guy, if you research who he is and how tremendously influential he is, and he is the biggest charity man, so to say, possibly in the world, or charity sportsman, because he raised hundreds of millions in his career. Again, tremendous. Just hear him speak and how shall I put it? He doesn't put a spell on people, but he influences people. People are listening to him. People are they fall in love with him, so to say, because it's a useful element. Again, his chart is he's a strong self, and he needs, again, strong earth that needs the power element. So the point is that Monica Lewinsky, she has peach blossom on the outside part of the chart, and the presidential scandal that she got herself into, again, the biggest sex scandal in history of the presidential institution. Again, I'm not taking a side, either hers or Bill Clinton's, although but anyhow, I'm not. And the issue is that even though this element is the useful one, when you have peach blossom on the external side of the chart, your romantic life gets into the media. You get vilified, you get criticized, you get crucified, and regardless, again, it's painful, it's painful. And I believe you understand why, and you're starting to agree somewhat with the Chinese with Chinese culture, traditional culture, where, again, what's private should stay in the private, and which, again, this is their view, and it's the correct view, because, again, you see this poor woman. I really empathize with her. She she could not just place yourself in her shoes. She could not find she never married. Again, she never had a child, and she was in depression for so many years. She was forced to leave her home country. I mean, how many people does this thing have such a fate? And the point is, with peach blossom, this is why Chinese astrologers, traditional, they say that, again, this star is it can make the native lewd and lusty and such things. This can it's better to remain hidden. Otherwise, again, this scandal can be used against the native. They can target the native's reputation, and most of all the family name, which is what they care about, and etc. The clan and the house. And so yeah, let's see, do I have something to add? Yes, well, yes. The great thing about this type of astrology is that you again, if you pick a well-trained astrologer, you will be able to see whether this astrologer is worth their money. You will be able to, because by their predictions, because you will see, they have to be accurate about the past and about the future, because if they can't be accurate about the past, how in the hell are they going to predict the future with some degree of certainty? And so what I'm saying is that the astrologer should be able to determine the favorable and unfavorable elements, and what this means. And this also, by determining them, he or she will be able to guide you into selecting the best profession for you, the best industry for you, the best color, the best direction, etc., etc., etc. And this is also used in classical feng shui. Let's see. Yes, you can again, if you remember again, useful elements being wood and fire and water to some extent, you will see that she suffered the most in metal and earth years. And again, if you study her biography and look at the Chinese calendar, you will see that this is accurate. Of course it's accurate again. Yes, so I showed the luck pillars. As for the annual pillars, if you use the free software or any other calculator, you will see, for example, again, this is Monica Lewinsky, you will see here that, for example, here, the in metal rooster, this is rounded here from 15 to 24. And take a look here, the years. In water, rooster, Yanut, dog, etc., etc. Or you can have them in a table like this. I can make a table like this if I want, and put it underneath the luck pillars. But I know them by heart because it's a cycle, and again, when you get deep into the knowledge, you have to remember, you have to learn by heart. Let's see. Yes, so I believe this is what I wanted to share. I can talk a lot more, but it's getting really late, and yes, the video is is long already. And so this is what you can expect, and much more from a Batsa reading with me, and to illustrate what this method is capable of. And again, I haven't even looked into the stars and also the 10 gods, because the 10 gods I can make I plan on making a separate video on the 10 gods, because each of them carries certain characteristics, and again, really helpful for character delineation, for profession, for risk taking, etc., etc. Let's see. Yes, there is a nice quote that I will leave you with. As you see, change your attitude and your behavior will change. Change your behavior and your habits will change. Change your habits and your character will change. Change your character and your destiny will change. Again, this is the original. And this view is it's definitely less deterministic than what we're used with in ancient astrology, which is what I also specialize in. And also, yes, and I know people with Indian astrology, it's also much more deterministic. But I should say that, again, I wrote an article about Chinese metaphysics and the hierarchy of factors. Namely, again, this is, again, we have destiny, namely the natal horoscope. Then we have the luck pillars as the second factor. Then we have feng shui, and of course by feng shui I always mean the classical feng shui. I don't mean interior design and other nonsense like this. I mean measuring the energy with a compass and with mathematical formulas. And then it's accumulating in morality, and then education and reading books as the first 5 factors. So it's not just astrology, but astrology destiny is the most important factor, as you see. Let's see what else. So I believe this was it, folks. This is my channel, Ancient Chinese Astrology. If you would subscribe, I would really appreciate it. You can press the bell to receive all notifications of any videos I publish. Yes, if you have a question or comment, I'll be happy to answer you. And if you're interested in a reading, you can go to my website 100%astrology.com, check out the services, etc., etc. And let's see. yes, my next video will be about Chinese astrology reading, but from a different perspective. Namely, there is as I explained, there are three branches. I know two of them. This is one of them, and the second one is that I know of, that I practice, is called Heluo Lishu or Ijin astrology. Namely, if you're familiar with the Ijin Oracle, the Book of Changes, one of the oldest books in the world, 5,000 years at least old. And this method uses the Batsa chart, the four pillars of destiny chart, and it uses formulas to use. It uses numbers to turn the pillars into trigrams and hexagrams, and use them not for divination but for destiny, for reading the life of the native. Very, very few astrologers in the world practice this method. I'm one of them. I firmly believe that this method has merit. It's not as detailed as this one. It offers a bird's eye view, but it's definitely worth it in my experience, and it's useful, and I will illustrate. And yes, so thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Thank you.